We're going to be talking to Assembly Member Ron Kim, who represents New York's 40th District. He's an incredibly brave person who actually refused to be silenced when he found out about Andrew Cuomo's nursing home scandal. So he got threatened by Cuomo, who said he would destroy him, which probably seems a little bit funny now, but we know wasn't funny at the time. Back once again, Assembly Member Ron Kim. Hello.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me back on. It's good to see you and Leslie.
So last time we spoke, you had been recently yelled at, threatened by Andrew Cuomo. Now it's a different world. Tell us what your thoughts are on what happened to Andrew Cuomo. And do you feel relieved that he's gone? Do you think that, what do you think about his political future?
I mean, finally, his long pattern of abusive behavior and abuse of power have caught up to him. Before Evine came out, there was a woman who came out, Lindsey Boland, back in December about him sexually abusing his power against her. So I want to give her a shout out for being the first to really step up and talk about what Andrew Cuomo is capable of doing. But after her, there was 10 other women who bravely came out over the course of last few months. And just think about some of those people who came out to speak against Andrew Cuomo. They some of them, at least one of them, still work in his office. And for her to, risk everything and being, out there at a society that you and I both know still do not believe in women, we have such a duty to step in, protect their voice, and seize this moment to get everything right in places like Albany so we can completely root out the toxic and abusive culture that Andrew Cuomo helped normalize for the last many years.
And can you just briefly describe what happened under Cuomo's watch with the nursing homes and also your relationship to that and your uncle?
Yeah, so I started pushing back against Cuomo last year at the peak of the pandemic, starting in April, May, June, when I started to see the outcome of his deadly policies on the ground. Two in particular, one on the March 25th order, where he ended up sending 9,000 COVID positive patients to unprepared nursing homes, and these facilities were not prepared to take them in. And the legal immunity that he gave out to his top nursing home executives in the process, which led to suppression of data and life and death information, which he tried to lie about in hopes that the public wasn't paying attention, because he had an incredible platform. He got on CNN every other night and literally gaslit the public to believe that he was doing a good job and New York didn't have any issues around nursing homes. This is when I started to push back. I actually had a re-election. I had a primary election. Every consultant, every person is telling me, do not criticize this governor. He's polling at 80, 90%. You're going to lose your election. Don't do it. But I made a promise, not to just my family, because I lost my uncle at a nursing home around that time. This is a person that's very dear to me. He is responsible for bringing my family to this country. My uncle was a U.S. Army captain at a time when the military had no Asian Americans serving in this country. And he came to serve because he wanted to be part of the American fabric. And he brought our family over from South Korea. And for him to die alone in excruciating pain, with none of us knowing what's going on because of some of the failed policies that this governor put in, was unacceptable. And 16,000 other families went through similar experiences as a result of our state's failure to take care of our elderly.
And can you just explain what it was that Cuomo did and why he did it?
So his explanation is that we didn't have capacity in the hospital, so let's put them in nursing homes. But the truth is, we weren't at maximum capacity, and we had a number of different options to send COVID positive patients. What happened when they send these COVID positives to nursing homes is that they were getting higher reimbursements of Medicare. Traditional nursing home residents are Medicaid recipients, usually from low-income backgrounds. So they were literally incentivized to replace them with Medicare recipients, which happened to be COVID patients. But they lobbied internally behind closed doors, hey, we can take them in, but we need to get out of jail free card because people are going to die and I'm not going to prison. And Cuomo, in the last minute of our budget, in a 5,000-page document, leveraging his power and his bullying tactics to put in this toxic, deadly legal immunity that disincentivized the industry from investing further into saving people's lives, while retroactively going back into March, taking away people's rights, their legal recourse to the courts. As you know, Leslie and Katie, like the last defense for our most vulnerable population is their recourse, their ability to defend their rights in the courts. And Cuomo took that away from them retroactively.
Right, by making it so that they were immune to liability lawsuits. These
Correct.
nursing homes, yeah,
correct.
Basically incentivizing them to be irresponsible with their patients.
Correct. And the lobbyists behind them, representing billions and billions of dollars, who have already donated millions of dollars to Cuomo, had front row access, and they bragged about it. They sent out a press release after they did it saying, oh, we got the governor to give you, legal immunity, which they, by the way, they took down the next day when I called them out on it. But they literally took that language, copied and pasted it, and took it to Washington, D.C., and gave it to the Republican Senate and said, this is exactly what we want nationwide. And they went to D.C., they went to other states, and used it as a gold standard of corporate protection, corporate forced policies at a time when it should have been people over profits at the peak of the pandemic.
So, and how was this revealed? Can you just remind people how we came to learn about it?
Yeah, a number of amazing investigative journalists, including our mutual friend David Sirota, did an amazing job diving into this, what happened, connecting the dots between the donors, the industry, and put out articles in The Guardian and the Associated Press and others, and all the local Albany reporters followed it. And one by one, we were getting exposure. So we were actually on track of repealing it back in July. And all of a sudden, the numbers didn't look that bad. And we found out much later that the governor and his staff directed the Department of Health to suppress the data, that they deflated life and death toll numbers so he can come out and say, we're not that bad compared to other states. And he chased down a $5.1 million book deal at the same time, citing the deflated number in his book. So legally speaking, that's criminal fraud. It's like imagine like Ford reporting a consumer safety guide, and then all of a sudden they deflated all their numbers and promoted a false number to give the impression that you're safe in a car, and they put a tiny little footnote in the back saying, well, actually, if you add this number and that number, it's not the total number. That is considered fraud. And that's what this governor did for months, and he should be held accountable for it.
Why did Cuomo finally meet his, I don't want to say his end, because I don't think that his political career is over. We can talk about that. But what do you think changed that made him resign?
Well, I think he got stuck in a situation where there's now multiple investigations happening. There's a U.S. attorney investigation into nursing homes, into his book deal. There's an open state attorney's office into his book deal, as well as other things. And the sexual harassment report came out by the Attorney General's office that we were waiting for 2 weeks ago, and everything spiraled for him from there on. And he figured out how to negotiate a soft landing, if you will, a gracious exit without acknowledging that he did anything wrong. That's literally what he did. He had a performative press conference, not saying, I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing, literally saying, I'm sorry, you didn't understand my intention. And this is more generational and cultural thing. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I'm sorry anyways. That's not an apology. That's still gaslighting. And that's literally what he did. And that's why we need to impeach and follow through in the impeachment process so we can get a full account of what he did wrong, not to punish him. I'm not a punitive, kind of person, but to get a full account so we don't repeat those same mistakes. And if we let him free without getting the record straight, what are we normalizing in the future? We're saying if you're a privileged man in this world who come from intergenerational wealth, you can get away with everything. You can gaslight the world and you just get a slap on the wrist and you can move on.
How does it feel to be the victor here? You know, because he said that he was going to be, obviously it's not just about you, but on a personal level, he said he was going to destroy you. And the tables have turned, and it must be very personally satisfying on a, petty level.
Honestly, we're still in the thick of it, and we're still trying to get to accountability and make sure he doesn't escape accountability. So a few of us are consumed by trying to get to impeachment, trying to hold him accountable for his bad decisions. So I don't feel victorious until we can actually deliver the accountability that the state deserves.
Right, because as of now, he's protected from impeachment, right? Because he resigned to kind of like preemptive strike, or
well, that's what the Assembly attorney has deemed. But we came up with our own legal counsel from Cornell University, which proves that it is our actually constitutional duty to see through impeachment if we do not see an elected official fit to serve in the public. So it's not the physical removal. It's not a physical removal, but it's removal of his criminal behavior and his history of criminality. That's our duty. And secondly, to make sure he doesn't run for office. Impeachment means he can't run for state office again.